Have you ever been caught between loyalty and love? Between doing what's easy and doing what's right? In the story we're about to explore, swords will be drawn, tears will fall, and lives will hang in the balance. This is no fairy tale. This is the true and gripping story of a young warrior, a crown prince, and a king whose heart fell into darkness. This is the story of David, Jonathan, and Saul. Let's start at the beginning, with a boy and a giant. David wasn't supposed to be a hero. He was the youngest son, a shepherd boy, the kind you overlook at family gatherings. But when a Philistine giant named Goliath stood defying the armies of God, something rose in David that didn't rise in anyone else. While trained soldiers trembled, David stepped forward. "Is there not a cause?" he asked. That single question shook the battlefield. David's cause wasn't pride or fame. It was the name of the Lord. With a sling and 5 smooth stones, he brought the giant down, not with brute strength, but with faith. And that's when Jonathan saw him. Not with the eyes of a soldier sizing up a rival, but with the eyes of a brother recognizing his own reflection. The Bible says, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, not tied loosely, not taped, knit, like threads in the same garment, like roots growing together underground, invisible yet inseparable. Jonathan, the son of the king, removed his royal robe and laid it on David. He gave him his sword, his bow, even his belt. This wasn't just a gesture, it was a surrender, a prince saying, "I see what God is doing through you, and I step aside." That moment was more powerful than any crown. But not everyone was rejoicing. While the people sang, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s," the king's smile cracked. What began as a hairline fracture in Saul's pride soon became a gaping chasm of fear. You see, envy doesn't need a reason to grow. It just needs a place to hide. Saul's heart became a haunted house, filled with echoes of suspicion and shadows of rage. David became the king's obsession. He tried to destroy him not once, not twice, but again and again. Imagine this. David sitting quietly in the palace, playing the harp to soothe the king's troubled mind. And then whoosh, a spear flies across the room. Not a warning, not a test, a deadly attempt. And yet David escaped, not because he was fast, but because God was with him. And that made Saul afraid. Not just angry, afraid, because deep down Saul knew the Lord who once walked beside him was now walking beside David. Now put yourself in Jonathan's shoes. His best friend is marked for death. His father is the one holding the spear. What do you do? Jonathan chose courage. He warned David, even at great personal risk. He reasoned with Saul, saying, "Why should he be put to death? What has he done?" For a moment the clouds parted. Saul relented. He swore an oath. "As the Lord lives, David shall not be put to death." But words spoken in the heat of shame melt quickly in the fire of envy. Soon after, David was sent into more battles. Saul secretly hoped the Philistines would do what he couldn't, but David returned again and again, victorious. Saul offered David his daughter as a trap, hoping he'd die trying to win her hand. David delivered twice the bride price. Still, he lived. Still, he rose. Still, God was with him. The more Saul tried to destroy David, the more God lifted him up. One night, Saul's rage boiled over. He sent soldiers to David's house with orders to kill him by morning. But God had placed someone in the king's household who loved David Michal, Saul's own daughter. She whispered, "If you don't run tonight, you'll be dead by morning." In a scene straight out of a spy novel, she helped David escape through a window while soldiers waited outside. She placed a decoy in his bed, covered it with blankets, and bought him time. It was daring. It was risky. It was love. David ran into the wilderness, hunted like a criminal, though he'd done nothing wrong. He found refuge with the prophet Samuel, but Saul wasn't finished. He sent men to capture him, once, twice, 3 times. And each time, those men were overcome by the Spirit of God. They prophesied instead of killing. Finally, Saul came himself, and even he was stopped. God made the mad king fall on the ground in prophecy, stripped of his pride, his robe, and his rage. For a moment, the hunter became helpless. God was protecting his anointed. Still, David knew he couldn't return. He went to Jonathan one last time, confused and heartbroken. "What have I done?" he asked. "Why is your father trying to kill me?" Jonathan wanted to believe it was all a misunderstanding, but David's eyes had seen too much, so they made a plan. Jonathan would go to the new moon feast. If Saul responded calmly to David's absence, it meant safety. But if he erupted, then David had to run. They arranged a secret signal. Jonathan would shoot arrows in the field. If he said, "The arrows are beyond you," it meant David was in danger. At the feast, Saul asked where David was. Jonathan explained he'd gone to Bethlehem to be with family. Saul exploded. "You son of a rebellious woman!" he shouted. "Don't you see, as long as David lives, you'll never be king." Then Saul hurled his spear, this time at his own son. Jonathan now knew Saul's hatred was real, and David had to go. The next morning, Jonathan walked into the field with a young servant. He shot the arrows, and deliberately sent them beyond. A few words spoken to the boy became a message of heartbreak to David. When the servant left, David emerged from hiding. The two young men embraced. They wept. And David wept more. Can you imagine the ache in that moment? Two souls knit together, being pulled apart by war, politics, and a father's sin. Jonathan made David swear one last time, "Show kindness to my family, even after I'm gone." And David did. Years later, long after Jonathan had died, David searched for his friend's descendants, not to eliminate them, but to bless them. Because that's what real friendship does. It remembers. Now step back for a moment. Who do you relate to? Are you like David, misunderstood, under attack, clinging to God while the world throws spears your way? Are you like Jonathan, torn between love and duty, yet willing to risk everything for righteousness? Or are you like Saul, letting jealousy blind you, holding so tightly to your position that you forget the God who gave it to you? This story isn't just history, it's a mirror. It shows us that true friendship isn't based on convenience, but covenant. That courage isn't the absence of fear, but faith in the face of it. And that the greatest victories aren't always won on battlefields, but in the quiet moments when a friend says, "I will not betray you." Let the friendship of David and Jonathan inspire you. Let the fall of Saul warn you. And let the faithfulness of God strengthen you. Because even when kings rage and friends weep and arrows fly, God is still writing your story. Thanks for watching. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, choose loyalty over fear and trust the God who knits hearts together.